First of all, I just want to say thank you, God. Um, you know, I gotta be thankful. Everything I've asked has been given to me. As a target individual, like I said a lot, it's hard to stay. It's hard to be thankful for anything because life is just being a tormenting experience. But I have to be thankful because with me, being a target individual happened in a special, magical way. Today is the day after the elections, and there's an impact, and it's something that, for me, correlate with this election that validates me in so many other ways. Listen, I consider myself somebody who's more of a liberal. So hearing that Trump won is not a good thing for me, but at this stage, I've understood that there's a lot of facades that was painted. And the truth now, I don't care too much, and I actually start appreciating Trump for the transparency of who he is. I'm not saying he's a good person, but who he is easy to figure out. And so his transparency is something that I appreciate, and I've recognized the facades that's been ongoing. Now, let me say this: I've always believed in liberal policies. I do believe in more of a democratic left type of thinking. This is what I lean toward. This is more of my policies in regard of what I think. But with that being said, I know this has nothing to do with politics. As a target individual, we have target individuals who are on the conservative side, on the liberal side, on the central side. It doesn't matter what political party you're in. You understand that there's things way bigger than that. And a lot of it, what we see, seen as facade. So that's why people, even who would lean toward more the left side, now tend to lean toward the other side. With me, the facades of this liberal side is just the worst. Because for me, it seems like everything happened, but there's things that have shown me how the optics of things are usually utilized to falsify the reality. Once I became a target individual, I start seeing things differently. Finding out there's a lot of technology that I have no idea what was happening, that was able to do so much of amazing things, but obviously as a target individual is terrible things, negative things. Since August 19, 2019, I have not been myself, and you can hear me struggling to talk. This is because of mixture of what they do to me psychologically in my brain, but also because I'm being deprived in regards to sleep. So sleep is very minimal. I'm employed by people who are trying to push me to breaking down, right? Try to burn me out. And so, as you can hear me speak, it's getting a little bit more challenging. I'm trying my best to be able to articulate what I need to say under the circumstances I'm in. But I knew in 2020 that I was a target individual, and I made my first video. And if you see my first video, you know who I'm calling out as the person responsible for putting me in this program. I used to work for not a governmental entity, but actually an organization that is a high donor in regard of political funds. Actually, matter of fact, that increased more drastically, and the election of Trump shows the level of influence they have. Ironically, and it's actually not ironically, the facade that was presented toward to me as this purpose, because when you start finding out that there is a tactic, when you're the target individual, when you start dealing with what target individual deal with, there is a PSYOP to make you think that this is anything but this massive government doing that to you. So some target individuals think that it is some kind of criminal ring that's doing that, some kind of Russian mafia, Russian government, Chinese mafia, anything but a massive government. They confuse you and disorient you. With me, the facade they were trying to portray initially was it is a group of feminists of some sort, some feminism of some sort, some feminist type of entity, or very influenced by feminism and protection of women and all kind of like almost left signaling type of group of people, like very liberal, but like a radical, like BLM, but more on the feminist, like Me Too one. Like it's so a weird combination because I was like, this doesn't even make sense because I know who put me in this program. One thing I know for sure, and I have no doubts, and more than ever, is who destroyed my life. I was working for this company for many years. I knew that once I started working there, things was happening, and they didn't like me. Let's just say that I look different than the most of people working there. They are very conservative, extremely conservative, and very, very, very much of a big deal. They donate so much money, and they're basically they're recognizable for what they do now. You know, before they were more of like people didn't know, but they were very influenceable, but nobody knew about that. Now it's just too obvious, right? So they're even more visible than ever. So they put me in this program, and I know why. I understand why. They wanted to get rid of me. They didn't think I was a good fit for them, culture-wise. And the truth is, I think that the way I look in regard of my race had an influence in that. Now, instead of just firing me, maybe they thought I was going to be suing them, which I don't even know how I could even sue them. But they just got rid of me completely by putting me in this program. After being put in this program, things have changed. So it started when I was there. They were acting weird. They broke me down so much, but at the end, I was like, what's going on here? I didn't know what's happening. And I ended up quitting. I was like, why is everybody acting this way? And so I quit, and then I realized everywhere I went, everybody would start acting the same way. It's like they were following me everywhere. And so I decided to, and I'm talking about the company, like the same way I was being treated is being applied everywhere I was going to work. So I decided like maybe their rich is too local. And so I moved from where I used to live to New York City. In my first video, I talk about this. And then August 19, 2019 started because I was experiencing this, and I realized, oh, they put me in a program that's led by the government. It's going to be global. They put me in the program where they use human subjects as test subjects. And this weapon system are attacking your body and your mind. Oh, your mind is so disturbed. And that's why you see so many videos. What they do is they can control your body. For example, my organs are destroyed. They tell me how I'm rotting away, and they're just slowly destroying my body. This is the governmental entities related to the DOD. The bullshit that they present to you is such a PSYOP. It's ridiculous. For me, there's a bunch of female presenting individual who pretend that they dare to be involved in a program, which I've no. And at this point, if you hear my testimonial, you've heard other testimonials and of a lot of women being destroyed in so many ways. They are making you destitute. They are destroying you psychologically and physically, crippling you, making you sick, and destroying you and your family. If you have children and you're a target individual, your children will be also targeted. It is foul. And I'm so thankful that on TR Day 2020, I was able, TR Day 2020, to express myself and say, this is happening to men, women, and children. And you could hear women from all around the world speaking about the horrible things that happens to them. Now, the PSYOP I'm presented, they present a PSYOP. A PSYOP is to try to make you believe that this is anything and just distract you from the reality of what this is about. At this point, they know I'm never going to identify with any of it. I put that in their faces. These human beings partake in this. There's a lot of civilians. So target individual keep addressing the fact there's a lot of neighbors participating, doing this. They think that the neighbors are the one really in charge. The neighbors partake. They're not. they're nothings. Because wherever you go, you find your neighbors, your people, the community you're around will participate. And even if you leave the country, it will happen to you. So for me, they would try to present because I'm like, I would present, for example, when I used to live around the college, like some like fierce women, young women try to act like they're avenging, like they're like some Me Too kind of, and like you pay, you're gonna raffle everything you do. I was like, and I didn't know what they were doing to women. All along, they were involved in a program that is burning vaginas of women. You've heard the testimonials of that. Today, every time I bring this testimonials, I can hear because I'm dealing with V2K. When they pipe their voices, it's like, that's not real. And I know it's just trying to agitate you. But they were trying to present themselves as these like liberal, Me Too-ish people. When the truth is, I have a recording of me talking with my manager when I used to work at that place, saying what's going on. And I always know that these are the people who destroyed my life. And today, these people, they used to dismiss themselves. Who are those people? I'm not going to say the company name. Who are they? And today, these people are so big that they are really leading in regard of donating a lot of money. A lot of money. So, like, extremely. And they're so conservative. They even donated money for abortion rights to be removed. And we're successful. They're truly the winners in the whole thing. Well, I have this trash presenting themselves as this liberal, trying to make me acceptive of the manipulation that other target individual are forced to experience. I'm not the only one who's said that my brain is so manipulated in disturbing ways that even every time I look at a child, from the little ones to the older kids, in disturbing ways, they force me to get sexual stimulation. And then they have this shit around you, gaslighting you to try to make you accepting of this manipulation. That's the thing they do. They want you to identify with the manipulation, and they do everything possible to get you to be identifying to this. It's so obvious. With me, there's another step. They are using it. They tell me how they're going to frame me. Listen, this childlike people, they use a lot of children or childish individual to do these things. They tell me how they're going to frame me and tell me that they're going to make it look like I raped a child here. There's a child I'm seeing and we're being intimate sexually or in whatever ways. Matter of fact, they love to say, you see this video called Beautiful? She's like, oh, it's beautiful, huh? Apparently, when I'm interacting with her, I'm calling her beautiful. And I can hear it, and apparently somebody who's a neighbor, a child that's a neighbor, and she opens the door, she's like, I'm beautiful, and she slams the door. They're so trash. And I just mock them for the clowns that they have to. They are. It's like, yeah, you're so beautiful. Trash ass. They sacrifice their own children. Can you imagine using your own children to pretend that your children are being raped? It's magically disturbing. But they'll get theirs. I've seen it in every, like, they wanted to live in this PSYOP of retardation that is magical. But for me, the people who put me in this program, their donations and what they've done are so well documented. Listen, I was recording this man here. The company I used to work for donated money to this person. Let me move a little bit forward. This is a man called Roy Moore. He was running for some kind of position, political position in Alabama. I just heard somebody who tried to say Roy Moore, but they have to say it in this fashion. For example, if I say, I'm not hearing anybody saying Roy Moore, could you say Roy Moore? They will not say anything. They are restricted to say that name. This is who this Roy Moore is, and I'm stopping because I know they're not going to say this. This is who
We're
this
up to
man
me.
is.
You need to call.
And go a food courting.
They talk about how
You need to go to.
this man, when he was in his 30s, as an assistant DA, was picking up kids from the mall, from the YMCA, and it's so nasty. Listen to this.
And go a food courting. More. Moore even went to the mall to get into the holiday spirit. One woman recalls that she was 14 and working as Santa's helper at the Gadsden Mall in 1977 when Moore first spoke to her and told her she would look pretty. 2 years later, when she was 16, he asked her out on dates. He hit on one of Santa's elves. Well, a true evangelical, he's putting the Christ back in Christmas. Wow. And it wasn't just the mall, folks. One Alabama journalist claims that Moore was also banned from the YMCA for his inappropriate behavior of soliciting sex from young girls. And don't forget, he did that while he was assistant DA. That's it.
Now, can you imagine that you're in a program that can do these things where they can manipulate your brain. And they're supposed to gaslight me into thinking that it's me experiencing these experiences organically. But they try to paint me as a persona, as this man, right? Try to pick up kids. So today what's happening is when every time I look at children, they force me to get sexual stimulation. And like, no, that's you. And and because I'm like, you know the people who put me in this program donate money to this person, say his name. Couldn't say his name. I don't know if they're restricted. I don't know if this man is so influenceable that they have to say his name carefully. But they don't say his name. Now with me, I deal with this kind of manipulation, as many other target individuals have said this. And it's funny, they tell me once they frame me, and I'm put in prison because I'm framed by a child that apparently I'm calling beautiful, the people in that prison will be able to say Roy Moore. It is so pathetic. Let me just first of all talk about the people around me. The patheticness of this is the perps living around you, try to gaslight you. They work for these governmental entities, which I will, of course, I'm going to bring up the issues those entities have, because everything is magical. See these people? These are the people around you that's supposed to gaslight you. Every time I'm experiencing this manipulation, which, I'm not unique in that. Nothing is unique, and I've accepted that this is what I'm gonna experience. And as I'm trying to, nothing is unique, and understanding that this is part of how they break you down.
What is referred as malodorance. This is the alteration of the smell sensation, so that I am often made to smell various things, including smoke, burning, dirty diaper, or baby powder, which they sometimes combine with the pedophilia type of torture, including the threat of planted dreams and videos in my...
They have this tendency of doing this tormenting manipulation that's pedophilia centric, and then they try to gaslight you, like you see this childlike trash like this that's supposed to gaslight you into thinking nothing's happening to your brain, it's just you naturally. And it's obvious that you're being manipulated, not because you just only know yourself, obviously, but it's because they do that to others. So nothing is unique. And on top of that, they do the same type of manipulations. And I'm seeing for
V2K, or voice to skull. This involves the projection of voices, noises, and music directly into my mind to communicate with me in real time and at the speed of thought. And it also includes the manipulation of thoughts, emotions, and perceptions in the person's mind. Additionally, the targeting is all highly perverted and sexual as well.
So this perversion of tactics is not perversion where they just make me look at women and feel stimulation. No, on my own I can have that. Even though they do that to me and it's falsified, but this is something that it's not going to be tormenting. What they do is like this woman said, they aim towards children. It's nasty. They have this tendency of doing the pedophilia type of torture, and it's systematically done in so many different ways, even imaginations or other
Companies' impulse include homosexual targets that are forced with voices that are derogatory to their lifestyle and similar mental images. Almost all targets are forced to view child pornography in their minds.
So there is a tendency, there is a tactic that's consistent. For me, for example, when they do that to me, I'm supposed to be identifying with these nasty manipulations. When somebody's gaslighting you, target individual, they want you to identify with something that they want you to believe, even though it's falsified. I will never identify with this manipulation. Today, actually, because they're framing me with these teenage kids who apparently, it could possibly be one of these retards here. And I hope you can capture the noise campaign that's been really intense, because Trump won and the employer who put me in this program donated a lot of money. This man who don't even donate to a man like Roy Moore. This actually family. And so apparently this is some of the clowns of this, whatever this is, that they're going to use to frame me. Some trash. Thankfully I take picture of this trash and show them. I'm going to humiliate them till death. And when to try to agitate me, they're like, oh, we feel so bad. I was like, I don't care what you feel. Who cannot see this coming? of what can happen to her? Who cannot see what can happen to this trash? Do you think the future is looking bright for them? Today they are forcing me to get sexual stimulation toward like the youngest to the babies. Okay, so look at this little kid here. So nasty. So this little girl here, 6-7-year-old girl, this baby, tiny little girl, and it's funny how they try to make me look at her little like chest that's non-existent, and then they do that to the older kids. This is like a 10-year-old kid. They're messing with me. Even now, as I'm doing that, they try to make me look at. Then the teenager that a little bit older, so this is like a teenage girl. At least she looks like a teenage girl, and obviously at that point she's closer to adulthood. She's probably like a 17-year-old girl. But this, and they give me stimulations. So I'm like, if you can do that to the little one, this older kid is gonna be easier. Because at that point she's getting closer to the adulthood, so she's like maybe 17, 16-ish. And then my brain can be manipulated in a more, in a comparison of women, but just adjusting it. And they have these different ways of manipulating my brain to get me to experience something. But they do that to the little ones, to the other little older ones, and the older kids. And that's the things they do. It's always like that. And these perps try to make me accepting of this. But today is even extra because the reality of who put me in this program and who is really in charge of what's happening here, it's been more exposed. Me, I know my brain's gonna be manipulated, and I will never identify with this manipulation. This is obviously governmental entities, and they try to confuse you, try to make you think that this is anything but this massive government. And they have these tactics of just like disorienting you, and I don't know if I have this here. But they try to make you believe that this is anything but a massive government that's been working on this technology. And we'll talk about the Department of Defense. The DoD is obviously behind that, and the magical aspect of it all is they do this manipulation. You heard testimonials. You heard this woman. That was a quick one. Pedophilia type of torture. You can even hear some specific testimonials where they do that toward teenager, young people, which they did the same thing here. Let me just see. There's somebody who I'm not sure if he's the teen or mother, like it's she look young, so this is obviously the teenage kids, but this one, because her head is turned, but she looks young, to almost from this point think that she's a teenager. I'm not even sure if it's just the mother driving the kids, but just because she looks youngish, they force me to get sexual stimulation. And that's the things they do. Now, I always love to put the reality in their faces. Not only they're just the bottom feeders, try to disorient me from who destroyed my life, but they work for governmental entities like the Department of Defense, where pedophilia is an issue. One thing you have to always know, the government is doing that to you, and not any government. The Department of Defense is for sure behind this technology and in charge of what's happening to you, on top of this intelligence community. Listen to what's happening.
Under investigation for links to the proliferation of graphic material. Called Project Flicker, some 5,000 individuals have been identified as having subscriptions to child porn sites, including many DoD affiliates.
This is in 2019. 2019, when actually the manipulation of my brain started.
By using the Department of Defense IP addresses and also working in the Department of Defense, clearly it appears to be thousands of individuals in the Department of Defense are finding ways around this, specifically by using the Department of Defense IP addresses and also apparently peer-to-peer sharing within the department's network. So this study that was done on this issue, and it is pretty horrifying, Manila, to consider this, it shows that the Department of Defense ranked 19th out of almost 3,000 networks in terms of peer-to-peer sharing of child pornography. That is absolutely...
This is real. The bill was named End National Defense Network Abuse Act, S1413, introduced in mid-2019. Because of this. You know, to counter this, because they were ranked 19th out of 3,000 network, there's this thing where they say, oh, I'm 19 years old. They talk about what was one of these kids here, actually like some teenage kids. or some trash like that. I don't know if there's somebody they're gonna frame me with. And the reason why they say 19 is because there's somebody I was with, which she said was 19 years old, but I don't know. But that's what she presents herself as. And it's like, oh, she's 19. And because they can make me imagine whatever they want, they're gonna create the age they want. And then when they use their children, it's like, oh, she's 19. Try to say, oh, you see that person who said she was 19, she was not 19. It's that delusional, and that's why you hear this nose campaign. It's that pathetic. Well, in reality, these people are filled with pedophiles, and this man here, to say his name, the trickery and the ways they have to find ways to say this man.
Through their ranks. If it were up to me, you need to go to
and go a food courting. More. More even went to the mall to get into the holiday spirit. One woman recalls that she was 14 and working as Santa's helper at the Gadsden Mall in 1977 when Moore first spoke to her and told her she would look pretty. 2 years later, when she was 16, he asked her out on dates. He hit on one of Santa's elves. Well, a true evangelical, he's putting the Christ back in Christmas. Wow. And it wasn't just the mall, folks. One Alabama journalist claims that Moore was also banned from the YMCA for his inappropriate behavior soliciting sex from young girls. And don't forget, he did that while he was assistant DA.
That's the reality. Well, they manipulate me to have this reaction toward these children and then come up with a storyline to counter the fact they were ranked 19th out of 3,000. Put down on child porn. Oh, she was 19 now, which is now she was lying. She was not 19. Can you imagine the retardation? And this is the entities
allowed to be given top-level security clearance. Remember, these aren't just people walking in off the street and saying, hey, can I get hired, can I get a job? You're put through an extremely rigorous background check, screening process. It's called an SSBI, single scope background investigation. There are people, they interview you, they interview your family, they interview your contacts, they go through your online footprint, they go through everything. So why is it that when they're going through these footprints, they're not checking, these digital footprints, they're not checking for so many pedophiles getting through their...
They talk about these agencies in the intelligence community and try to present themselves as this feminist group and they were just avenging, daring, when the truth, their low life, forcing you to experience reaction toward children, then try to make you acceptive of whatever manipulation you experience, then framing you, telling you they're going to frame you with some retards like this. And then like, oh, she's 19 years old. To try to make you think that that person that said that was 19 was not. And they humiliated by the reality that obviously who put me in this program is they're some of the most influenceable people in this country. It's proof. They don't have money to amend those picking up kids as young as 14 years old. They are sacrificing their own retard of children to frame me while forcing me to have these experiences toward kids. And use this clown and this PSYOP that's so broken down and destroyed. You heard all the testimonials of women and children. There's so many women being tormented in so many horrible ways. They just destroy you and break you down psychologically and try to make you identify with this false persona that they manipulate and falsify to the point of even negating the fact that they're working for governmental entities that are top-tier child porn traffickers because they're ranked 19th out of 3,000, almost 3,000. The real number is 2,981. Or 2,891, I think. So run it to 3,000. To negate that, it's like, oh, she's 19, huh? No, she's lying. Yeah, okay, the people who framing me with children, and you hear this nose campaign, due to the desperation to try to paint this facade, because they work for a governmental entity filled with pedophiles. They force people to have these nasty reactions, and they're actually having children. Gonna be utilized to frame where they're calling themselves beautiful. She's beautiful. No, she's not. She's a trash low life that's been sacrificed, and now calling herself beautiful to frame me, which I should be identifying with this storylines they create. Hence, you hear the nose campaign. Delusional trash. I'm so thankful that God showed me everything I need to show. Now they're here making noise campaign as much as they can to create that fantasized reality, as I put the reality in their faces. 19th out of 3,000 for child porn trafficking. Stop being delusional. Target individuals stay strong and see this shit for what they are. And don't identify with these manipulations.